In this video, I want to talk a little bit about why empirical methods are so important when we want to understand the world around us. In short, why is psychological science important? Humans are remarkable creatures. We take in a tremendous amount of information all the time, and we make some kind of conscious sense of it, and then we try to use it to make the best decisions that we can about what to do and how to act and who to be. But even though our brain is very powerful, sometimes we ask too much of it. Human intuition is really good most of the time. We make snap judgments on very little information, and much of the time that's pretty useful. You know, if I'm walking through the woods in Maine and I see a beast that I've never seen before, it's got 6 legs, it's got 4 sets of antlers, and it's charging down the path. Now, I'm not likely to pause and consider whether this new thing is dangerous. I'm likely to make an intuitive choice. This thing is dangerous, it looks like other things that are dangerous, and so I'm going to jump off the path and get out of the way. But unfortunately, human intuition is limited because my experience has no comparison group. We can only observe what has happened, and we can't see what would have happened in an alternative situation. Now, for example, I am a coffee drinker. I know that after I have coffee, I feel more alert and I'm more focused in the morning, I'm better able to write. But I don't know what happens when I don't have coffee. I mean, I know what happens acutely. I get a headache, I get grumpy, but I don't know what would have happened if I'd never developed a dependency on caffeine at all. Maybe I'd be more naturally alert and my concentration and focus is actually impeded by my caffeine dependence. I simply can't know that through my own experience, because I can either have a history of drinking coffee or a history of not drinking coffee. My experience doesn't have a comparison group. Similarly, let's say I have a headache, maybe I didn't drink my coffee, and I take a painkiller, and then 2 hours later I feel better. Now, it's impossible for me to know if the painkiller caused my feeling better, or whether it would have happened naturally, or whether it was the orange juice that I took my painkiller with, because I cannot isolate the effects of the painkiller in my experience. My experience is confounded with all of those things at once. I don't know what would happen if I took the orange juice but not the painkiller and waited the same amount of time, because I can't experience both possibilities at the same time. The existence of a comparison condition is what makes systematic research a way to get reliable knowledge about causes and effects. It allows the careful and systematic comparison of 2 different possibilities in a way that our day-to-day experiences and our intuition can't. Good research always includes a comparison condition. Bad research mirrors our human experience. It only has one condition. For example, early in the coronavirus pandemic, a doctor in Texas said he was conducting research on hydroxychloroquine, an anti-malarial drug. What he was doing was giving hydroxychloroquine to all of his COVID-infected patients, and he reported that the drug was effective because after a few days of treatment, some of the patients were already showing signs of improvement. Unfortunately, without a comparison condition, it's impossible to know the effect of hydroxychloroquine on their improvement. If, say, 12 of the 39 patients he was giving the drug to were showing signs of improvement, what would have happened if he had not administered the drug? Maybe it would only be 3 of 39 improving, suggesting that the drug is effective. Or maybe it would be 12, just the same, suggesting that it's no better or worse than no treatment. But maybe, if they hadn't been given the drug, 22 out of 39 would have been feeling better, and that would suggest that hydroxychloroquine is actually worse than no treatment at all. Without an effective comparison condition, we can't know. Now, your text does a nice job talking about these failures of human intuition beyond the lack of a comparison group that mean that we need research and empirical science to make good decisions. And we're biased as humans in all sorts of ways that we simply can't control. We favor confirming evidence, we find it difficult to imagine alternatives, we favor evidence that frames us positively, we have a self-serving bias, and to top it all off, we're blind to those biases, we don't see them. Even if we know that we have them and we work to avoid them, we can't. These biases are inevitable, they're baked into our human psychology. Importantly, ignoring those biases and relying on our own intuitions can be really dangerous. For example, I might underestimate the severity of a public health event because I don't know anybody who has gotten sick. I can see the immediate and obvious economic consequences that are leaving me struggling personally, which might lead me to search for information that confirms my hope that the risk of this disease is actually small, so that we can address the socioeconomic threats, and I wouldn't even recognize the effect of my bias the whole time on this happening. So it could lead me to unsafe and inaccurate conclusions. But the good news is that we can avoid all of these problems of human intuition by being careful and critical consumers of research. Gordon Pennicook and his colleagues have studied what predicts people believing in fake news, and they found that when we engage in careful analytic thinking about information, that is, relying on the kinds of data and research that I've been talking about here, and questioning our own assumptions, when we do that, we're less likely to trust fake news, even when that fake news is consistent with our political beliefs or desires. That is, if we can avoid the lazy thinking of human intuition, we can prevent the spread of misinformation and make better judgments by relying on data. Careful research is the answer to the problem of our limits as humans. In this class, you'll develop skills that will help you transcend those limits and how to really know the effects of something, whether it be a drug intervention like hydroxychloroquine or your morning caffeine, or literally anything else you care about.